Before the internet or smartphones and selfies, VHS tapes were full of weird things, and this is one of the weirdest. Episode 1: Shredding. The first anthology short film features Rachel, Chris, Anchor, and Caleb, members of the punk rock band Rack. They want to shoot their newest music video in a location that is no longer in use because of the terrible history connected with it. Chris claims that the venue caught fire during one of the nights when the band Bitch Cat was playing there. Bitch Cat is made up of members RC, Carissa, Jesse, and Deirdre. Except for RC, Carissa, Jesse, and Deirdre, every single person who was there at the performance made it through uninjured. Even worse, they were killed in a stampede that had been fanned by their own fans, and then they were charred to death by the fierce flames. According to Anchor, shooting a music video there again would be disrespectful to the memories of the deceased band members, but he's been bullied into joining the rest of them. Rachel, Chris, and Caleb continue to play with Anchor despite the fact that they are aware that Anchor does not feel comfortable in the venue while also making racial jokes at him. During the time when the three are pretending to be possessed,
Guys, seriously?
Anchor gives up and walks away. The remaining three, unaffected by his leave, recreate the stampede by filling dolls with crimson jello and stomping over them. When this happened, Caleb is dragged up by something and his body is mangled. Rachel and Chris escape, terrified out of their minds. However, RC, Carissa, Jesse, and Deirdre in their zombie forms prove too powerful, and they are torn apart. Anchor, who hasn't yet made it out of the building, uses some of the homemade spices he's made to try to stop them. When the zombified Bitch Cat puppeteers Rack physically reattach their dead bodies' limbs and puppeteer them to finish their music video, it's clear that Anchor's spices weren't quite enough. Episode 2: Suicide Bid. Lily is attempting to join the titular sorority over the advice of her roommate Hannah. Following a brief time leap, a drunk Lily meets four sorority sisters: Annie, Helen, Imogen, and Lucy. They dare Annie to spend one night in a coffin in the nearby graveyard. If she succeeds, she will be eligible to participate in the suicide bid. If she does not, she will have to spend her college years as an outcast because she has only applied to one sorority. She can escape after being buried by ringing the bell attached to the coffin. Imogen motivates her by giving her a package that she should open just when she is about to ring the bell. After that, they dig a hole in the dirt that is 6 feet deep and bury Lily while she is still alive. So, why do the females choose for this type of hazing? Well, tradition has it that a girl named Guiltine was buried alive. When her coffin was dug up a week later, there was no one inside. There is a rumor going around that she was transported to the underworld. That's why Annie warns Lucy that if she hears a knock on her coffin while underground, she shouldn't let that person in since it's most likely guilty. Having saying that, Annie holds her own for quite some time. But she loses her cool when she opens the package Imogen handed her and discovers it's full of spiders. The girls exacerbate the situation by pounding on the coffin, pretending to be guilty. However, when it starts to rain, a couple of police officers force the girls to leave the area, leaving Lily in that grave, which fills to the full with water. The next day, when the girls return to the grave, they do not find Lily's body in the sunken coffin. As per legend, that's because she's made a deal with Guiltine in which she'll be permitted to live although in an undead condition as long as she keeps selling sorority sisters to Guilty. This is revealed when the four girls find themselves in their own coffins in preparation for being dragged into hell by Guilty. Episode 3: Ozzy's Dungeon. We follow the titular game show, in which kids try to complete tasks thrown at them, sometimes literally by the host. Whoever wins will be able to request anything they want, and it will be granted. However, the program appears to be cancelled after one of the participants, Donna, suffers a horrific injury, causing public outrage from her mother, Deborah. The camera then moves to Deborah's basement, where she and her family are holding the host hostage. To escape alive, the host must finish a duplicate of Ozzy's dungeon, which is filled with genuine feces and obstacles that will do him serious injury. The host clearly fails, and Deborah wants to kill him by putting some type of acid into his vein. In order to avoid death, the host claims that he can still grant Donna's wish. Deborah accepts the offer on Donna's behalf, and the host guides both of them, along with Marcus and Brandon, into a cave hidden below the stage where Ozzy's dungeon used to take place. After walking through its dark halls, the five of them reach in a chamber where a plus-sized lady, Ozzy herself, is resting on a table surrounded by cultists. The host encourages Donna to express her desires to the woman. Soon later, the lady begins to wail. Her belly bursts apart, revealing a gigantic tentacled monster that burns everyone's faces off, including Donna's entire family. Deborah, who deliberately urged Donna to ask for money and a new car, continues to ask Donna what she asked for while leering at the camera. Episode 4, The Gawkers. This short film about stalking follows Dylan and his buddies Kurt, Boner, and Mark as they constantly check on their hot neighbor Sandra. They realize Dylan's brother Brady knows her and find she has even asked him to install her webcam. As a result, they ask him to install malware on that webcam so that they may literally watch her undress. Brady is unsure at first, but when Dylan persuades him with the chance of joining the group, he installs the malware. What they see is something they cannot, quite literally, unsee. So, in the opening seconds of the film, when Sandra begins to remove her clothing and wig, the guys continue to enjoy themselves and fail to see the connection. But when they notice that her hair is formed of snakes, living ones, no less, they realize she is a modern-day Medusa, the Greek monster notorious for turning humans into stone if they make direct eye contact with her. As the boys begin to panic, Sandra breaks into Dylan and Brady's home and attacks Mark first, killing him. Then she turns the other guys to stone. The final episode, To Hell and Back. On the eve of the year 2000, a pair of videographers, Nate and Troy, videotape a summoning ceremony. Almost immediately after it starts, Troy sees a demon that has broken through the barrier that separates hell and earth. When the cultists try to deal with it, the ritual intended to bring the demon or devil Yukaban into his earthly vessel backfired, condemning both Troy and Nate to hell. In this post-apocalyptic terrain, they are pursued by strange monsters as well as a giant winged demon until Mabel, who's really ready to help them, appears. They create a plan to approach Yukaban, detain him, and return to their reality as the cultists try to get him inside his vessel for the second time, and they must complete all of this by midnight, when the window for their escape closes. Although much is unknown about Mabel, she looks to be the Golem to Nate and Troy's Sam and Frodo, leading to the Mount Doom equivalent of this short, Yukaban's lair. They even pass through a tunnel coated with spider webs, similar to Shelob's den. But, unlike Gollum, Mabel does not betray Nate and Troy, and she does take him to Yukaban. When Nate and Troy try to run away, Yukaban's henchmen attack them brutally. Nate and Troy only narrowly defeated them. Nate had an epiphany at this point and asks Mabel to follow him. Unfortunately, one of the demons butchers her. Troy and Nate leave Mabel and dive into Yukaban, returning to Earth as their time runs out. However, Troy does not return to his body but to the vessel's body, Kirsten. The cultists are terrified and slay both of them. Troy, in his final seconds, writes Mabel's name into the book of spells and incantations.